Ramona's daughter launched this bachelorette bachelor party service for brides and grooms. Basically, it's like a posh, fancy, luxurious bachelor or bachelorette party. She invited a bunch of Instagram accounts. Influencers were there. Kyle and Amanda were there. Jen Fessler was there. Dorinda was there. Also, Ali Shapiro, Jill Zarin's daughter, was there. Obviously, she invited them so they'd share to their socials, press, everything. Now, Amanda, please weigh in, because my personal feelings for Avery aside, I'm saying to myself, outside of her circle of rich kids whose parents would pay for these elaborate bachelorette parties, when my friends were getting married and I had anywhere from 4 to a dozen bachelorette parties a year, I certainly was not shelling out extra for this sort of service. Maybe a honeymoon service would make sense in my world. Welcome to Cocktails and Gossip, the podcast where we drink cocktails, but you better believe we're going to spill the tea. We chat reality TV, celebrity blinds, and the hottest tea from BravoandCocktails.com. And as always, it's all alleged and just for fun. We do not verify our blinds. I'm B.
And I'm Amanda. Let's get into this week's tea. Hi, cocktailers. So most of you probably know this already, but it's been a fun week for B and I. We got to record with Melissa Gorga yesterday. Podcast came out today, her On Display podcast. We had such a blast.
Wasn't it so much fun? We didn't even get a chance to talk about it. How much fun was it?
I mean, I feel like we could have talked to her for hours and hours. And then if we were actually all drinking,
oh my gosh,
would have been, I did say this to you after, she had very little makeup on and she's gorgeous.
I felt like a troll.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Well, we didn't have our faces showing, but I'm just saying,
yeah.
Looking at her and then looking in the mirror, I was like, oh. But you know what the thing, and I always find it weird because I feel like a lot of the feedback she gets is that she's stuck up. I've never gotten that vibe from her from television or interviews. And talking to her yesterday, honestly, I felt like I was chatting with you, with a girlfriend. We could have sat there all day.
Yeah, talking about off the pod, we were talking about kids and working and yeah, just
totally
normal person. And I think that I think she is she's a normal person.
And I love how she wanted the tea on all the other shows.
I know.
Some of it was actually cut because you can they condensed it, but we spoke about all the shows, and she was like, wait, is it true about this one? And I heard that, I saw you guys posted this, so it was very exciting and flattering, I think, for me and you to see that she didn't just have us on, she really is follows our stuff, she reads our website and our posts, which was very cool.
Yeah, and she kept it classy too, as far as we didn't talk about really the stuff. We talked about it a little bit, but she was very she kept it very classy. Of course, we had a joke about being on her payroll.
Yeah. Do you know that when I posted this morning, a lot of followers before they got a chance to listen were please tell me you asked if you could be on her payroll. I was like, we did. She turned us down, but we brought it up.
It was too fun. And to your point, she wanted to know, she's definitely a Bravo fan too. So that's always kind of an immediate point, just for everyone to kind of gather together and conversation, immediate conversation.
You know who else is a friend in my head and is a big Bravoholic that's also a Bravo star is Mercedes from Shaz. I really need to reach out to her and invite her on. That would be chaotic.
She is hilarious.
Right?
I mean,
okay,
that would be so funny.
I'm always embarrassed. And Melissa actually invited us on, which was so flattering. This will surprise you guys, but I really, as you guys know, we've had Larry on, but I really haven't had Bravo celebrities. And doing that, Amanda, really, I think, made me want to reach out and have some people that we're fans of on our podcast.
I think we should. Let's
right?
do it.
Let's branch out.
Or even the people that we aren't as big a fan. I mean, I'm always willing to give people extra, more chances and like.
I'm not
I mean,
asking
even
Shannon Bedore just yet, okay?
oh
Or Gina. Imagine I asked Gina.
my gosh. I honestly, I have a feeling like you and Gina could like I just don't get it. I feel like you guys could be friends. I don't understand that one.
I don't get it
Anyway.
myself. It's just a thing. Okay. But something that we were talking to Melissa about, to stay on track, because we're going to go off on our tangents,
Of course.
is we were talking to her about Summer House a lot. Like she was very into the Summer House gossip, and she mentioned that she had recently gone out after a Page Six event to dinner with Lindsay. So I thought it was funny, and I'm sure by now you saw this. I said to Melissa that I found it messed up, and I was assuming that Lindsay hadn't reached out to Danielle when Danielle broke up with Robert. And the reason I assume that is because on Watch What Happens Live, Danielle had said that she hadn't spoke to Lindsay, so A plus B, C.
And she said that Carl had reached out to her. She made a point of saying that. So
Yes.
I agree. Like she would have said, yes, Lindsay reached out to me, but she didn't say that.
But Carl reached out to her to thank her because in watching those first couple of episodes, he saw how much Danielle supported him against like Kyle talking smack. So he reached out to thank her, which is different than reaching out to her when she broke up with her boyfriend of 3 years. So we get off the pod, I'm scrolling, and I see that Danielle was on an interview, and she actually said, like, Lindsay didn't reach out to me when her and Robert split, and she actually made, like, a snarky comment. She was like, but, I guess she's busy planning a wedding, so whatever. And then Lindsay responded. Did you see Lindsay's response?
I did, but I don't remember what she said.
So she said, of course, I copy and pasted. No, I did. So Lindsay said, no, I didn't reach out because I wasn't ready to forgive all the things she did and said over summer, where she made it clear she did not support my growth and happiness. You cannot be a bad friend to someone and then expect them to be a supportive friend back. Makes no sense. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I mean, I feel like the door that she had kind of cracked open by saying that she would like, that she was open to talking to Danielle. I think it feels like she just slammed it shut.
That's my exact thought. Like, I'm like, why would she make such a public, harsh comment in light of also the support she's seeing? Like, so Carl reached out, right, to be like, thank you. And obviously Lindsay must be appreciative watching it. So in light of that, like, why wouldn't she first, not comment at all. We could go that way. Or how about even like send a text and be like, I appreciate you supporting Carl and I in the first couple episodes. And I hope you're doing okay. I know there've been a lot of changes in your life and wishing you well.
Right.
Like, for people to make up, there needs to be compromise and there needs to be accountability. And I am not saying that Danielle doesn't have anything to be accountable for. I'm sure she does, especially like Gabby even said that Danielle's going to have a lot to answer to because she feels like Danielle talked a lot of smack that Lindsay hasn't even seen yet. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. Like, somebody has to start somewhere, and they just kind of keep like opening and slamming doors in each other's face.
Yeah. But I mean, I feel like, in order to have accountability, you have to like realize that you are not the most perfect person in the world, and that like both sides did something. Like that's how these things start. It just, I don't know. I have to say, it just really makes me question Lindsay and like how her views on friendship, and like, was she really just more viewing Danielle as like a soldier in her army versus her true friend? Like, it really put a bad taste in my mouth to hear that she did that.
Agreed. And any poll can show that the viewers and fans are mostly on Danielle's side. The thing that cannot be denied is that Lindsay's great television. And right now, a lot of people are pointing out her and Carl's relationship is the storyline, whether they're there or not there. So,
Yeah.
I think that Lindsay doesn't really care about being liked and by the cast or the viewers, and as long as people tune in and talk about her and she's relevant, which she is, she's good with it. At least that's what it seems like. Or she's easily triggered and just commented that and regretted it. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I think we all know like there's going to be more to be seen. And so who knows? I might change my mind, but
Totally. When we see it, we may be like, wow, I didn't know Danielle had that in her. She was really vicious. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. What did you think about this episode where they're at that dinner and Danielle and Gabby realize that they had the same boyfriend, but at the same time?
Wild. So, Amanda, the episode was not even done, and you know this, and I'm share with the cocktailers. And I started getting messages, DMs from people who know Gabby and the ex in real life. And by now, Page Six has outed his identity, which he used to work for NBC, which makes sense. Remember, she said that their first date was to watch What Happens Live. Well, that's how he got the ticket, because he worked for NBC. And I don't know, he's worked on a couple podcast networks, but he has a private Instagram account, so I'm not going to say his name. But I love when a new person joins the show, any of the shows, because all their real life acquaintances love to send DMs and they become new sources. So a few people reached out and I just kind of combined what they all told me. She said that one person said that she met the guy a few times when they were dating, and she said he's very metro. So the girl said to me like she assumed he was a gay man, and she was shocked when he was introduced as Gabby's boyfriend. She said about Gabby that she's tiny and cute and just like very sweet, and they always seemed like an odd pair to her. She also said that she was surprised to see how like sassy and outgoing Gabby was on the show, because this is a few years back, and she says that she's definitely come out of her show. She was very mild-mannered and quiet. And again, this is an acquaintance, so it's not like they were best friends. She said maybe their breakup sparked this new personality, so I thought that was funny. She said, which I guess we can tell from that clip we saw of her parents, that her parents are angels. Like, she had met them, and they're lovely people. And then another source, when I said, when I told them what I heard about the very metro, the second source said metro, not really by New York standards, but they referred to him as a typical New England fuckboy.
So explain this to us. What does that mean for those of us who are not familiar with New York standards, and what that means as far as metro and what is a typical New England fuckboy?
So metro, do you know like what a metrosexual is?
I know what metro means, right? It's a guy who like his hair is done, he's put together, his shoes aren't scuffed, etc.
His eyebrows are threaded, he probably gets a spray tan, he gets facials with his girlfriend. He's, typically when you say a metro, you're saying it because we know it's a stereotype, right? That everyone thinks gay men take very good care of themselves. So a metro is a straight man who takes care of himself in the way a gay man does. That's like the best way to describe a metro, in my opinion. I always say my father was the original metrosexual, like before it was a thing, because he always has dressed impeccably. He has never worn jeans. He only wears like suits or dress pants, loafers. He does not own a pair of sneakers. As a matter of fact, I bought him, my husband actually bought him, not fake, but like plastic. They look like dress shoes, but they're from Nordstrom's. They're in the material like of Crocs, but they have like tassels like dress shoes.
Swims. Are they Swims?
Oh, I don't know.
I know of a brand that's like that. That like they dry off, you can wear them in the water, and they look nice, but they're I know exactly
they
what
may
you're
very
talking
well
about.
be. I had never seen them. Listen, my husband grew up on the beach in New York, and so he's like a flip-flop guy, which is a whole thing in New York City. Like, girls in New York City don't like flip-flop guys, but there's like certain areas of New York City that are on the beach, like Rockaway Beach and Coney Island, and those guys are flip-flop guys. It's a whole they were getting off track again. But
I know. I had to know though. Like, so, but from New York Standard. So New York Standard has like a high, it's more normal to be metrosexual is the way that I was reading that comment.
Wait, so in other parts of the
That
country, is it not normal to be metro? I feel like it's more normal now.
Well, no, not, I mean, I don't, when I say normal, I don't mean like it's weird if you are or not. I mean, like, there are, that it's more common, I guess, is
More
what
common.
is probably a better word.
I
Like,
would
there's
say
a lot of commonly metrosexual men in New York.
I feel like most professional, like, I don't want to say, like most businessmen in New York are metro.
Okay.
Or they appear to be metro. You may go to their apartment and it might look like Tom Schwartz's apartment. But when you see them like at the bar and they're having a cocktail, they look metro. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And in New England,
well, like dressing.
Right.
Dressing
like
nice,
Kyle
right?
Cook. Like Kyle Cook is metro. Carl is metro.
Okay.
Whereas
it's the getting the facials and like that kind of thing that threw me a little bit because I'm like, well, no, like a normal
you don't think
preppy
Kyle's
guy
gotten a good
dresses
facial?
very well.
You don't think Kyle gets a facial?
You know,
you don't think Kyle goes to
a
a salon and not a barber shop?
I think he has beautiful skin, so he probably does. Good. And by the way, good for you. Like I have encouraged my husband just to even get a pedicure. So
Perfect.
I say go metrosexuals.
Okay, so like
go,
as
you
an
know,
example,
you guys go.
yes, where I'm from, men get pedicures, men get manicures. At least most of the men I know, my husband does. Like not as often as I do, but in the summer, like he wouldn't go on the beach with his feet without a pedicure. My father has always, for 30 years, got them. So maybe it is a New York thing. I don't know. But as an example, here's a perfect example, Amanda. Craig. We see how different Craig's look is now that he's with Paige.
Yeah.
Like him and Austin are, to me, like what I would remember as like a frat boy from college. Like the guys I hang out with don't dress sloppy like that. Like when we were in college, I guess they did. But like nowadays they're much more put together. And I feel like, they're Southern boys and they get dressed at night, but like during the day they're very like sloppy t-shirt. It might be Vineyard Vines, but it's like wrinkled and like the same cap, the same hat. Like in New York, guys don't wear dirty white hats. Like they wear like new crisp hats and they have like 30 of them and they look new. And so do their sneakers.
I see. That is helping me with the hat. Cause like a lot of like where I'm from, the like more casual look and the kind of dirty hat with longer hair, like a little hair curling out of it is quite typical.
Right.
This is all helping me, guys. I am just trying to understand what this person was trying to imply. And so like a fuckboy is a fuckboy is a fuckboy. So I don't think it really matters where they're from. It was more the metrosexual thing that was throwing me. So I was like, I don't understand what that means. So now I'm clear. Thank you for the clarification.
And so when she says New England fuckboy, that leads me to believe that he's not from like New York City and he's more like Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, because that's New England to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah.
And
interesting.
The follower who sent this, please let me know if I am. Oh my God. Wait, I have to tell you this. So I did not tell you. So my friend Allie if you're not following at Bravo Afterthoughts, guys, please do. She's a great account. She's young. She lives in the city, and she always gets invited to like Loverboy events and all those events, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she went, and I'm thinking of this because Kyle and Amanda were at this event. She went last night to the launch of Avery's new business. Do you know about Avery's new business?
I do, because I follow Ramona still.
Right. So for those of you that don't know, most of you do, Ramona's daughter launched this bachelor party service for brides and grooms. Basically, it's like a posh, fancy, luxurious bachelor or bachelorette party. She invited a bunch of Instagram accounts. Influencers were there. Kyle and Amanda were there. Jen Fessler was there. Dorinda was there. Also, Allie Shapiro, Jill Zarin's daughter, was there. Obviously, she invited them so they'd share to their socials, press, everything. Now, Amanda, please weigh in, because my personal feelings for Avery aside, I'm saying to myself, outside of her circle of rich kids whose parents like would pay for these elaborate bachelorette parties, when my friends were getting married and I had like, I don't know, anywhere from 4 to a dozen bachelorette parties a year, I certainly was not shelling out extra for this sort of service. Maybe a honeymoon service would make sense in my world, but do we see this as something that people would use?
Yeah. Okay, so I saw, let me circle back because I saw the party. I saw the videos. I saw the pics. I mean, everybody was in full glam, like sequin dresses, very fancy. Seemed like a six figures party to me for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I will say, like, in my experience, so it's been a long time since I got married, right? I maybe for like busy New Yorkers who are like can't be bothered to put the time, they're, I don't know. Maybe. I mean, there's always a need for party planning and event planning, right? So they're getting very niche by planning bachelor and bachelorette. But my whole thing was like, what dudes want a company that's led by two chicks to plan their bachelor party?
Like what strip club is
nobody
Avery
does.
bringing them to?
Right.
I don't know.
Like,
listen, I come from the world of you book the Fontainebleau in Miami or you book a hotel in Vegas. Pick one. They're all nice. And you go there and you book a couple of nice dinners and you figure out which hot spots you're going to and you call it a day because it's expensive enough by the time you're done with flights, hotel, meals, and, drinks.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess we'll see. I am kind of questioning it myself. It looks, I mean, like, let's
It's not that nobody would use it. I just feel like your average person wouldn't use it. Like if I were making a perfume, right? I would, or a candle. I would do what Jill and Allie are doing, where you make it a candle that the average person can afford.
Right.
When you make it something that's only sold at Bergdorf Goodman, yes, it's much more expensive, but you're selling much fewer. Like I remember years ago, I heard like J-Lo and Britney, when they all did their perfumes, they all wanted perfumes that were like selling at Walmart and Macy's because that's where the average American's shopping. But again, it's a boutique business. It's a niche business. Listen, I wish them well. Whereas I feel like a honeymoon planning is something where people are looking to spend the extra bucks.
I was like, you know how when you're like kind of coming up through the stages of life, right? You're getting engaged, you're getting married, you're having kids. Like it feels like people are coming up with business ideas that's just like about something that's like right there and like that they're in the like in their stage of life. So right. I'm like, that's probably why, where this idea came from is that there's a lot of bachelor and bachelorette parties and maybe if they are in like, because if there's that many a year that people are going to, then I would see that there's a need for that. Like, I don't ever remember going to, more than a few bachelorette parties, probably 4 or 5 at the most a year.
Right.
That's a lot of bachelorette parties if you're going to like, 10 or whatever. So in that case, I would think there would be one. So we'll see.
We'll see.
Time will tell. Yes, I do too. And yeah, I mean, hey, it is not easy to be an entrepreneur. So I say good on you.
Both her parents are successful entrepreneurs, so good for her.
Right. And there was a really cute picture of both Mario and Ramona kissing Avery. Like, it was cute. It was cute.
Allie said all 3 of them like are very good looking in real life, which I'm not surprised at.
Yeah, I'm not surprised either. So yesterday, literally right before we started recording on Melissa, on her podcast, the news broke about Drew Sidora and Ralph, what's his last name, getting divorced from Real Housewives of Atlanta. So literally, I think they both like raced to the courthouse because the news came out first about Ralph filing, but then the news came out, wait, actually, Drew filed 62 minutes earlier than Ralph did.
I picture them speeding past each other on the highway.
Seriously, that is some drama, but that also tells me What that tells me is that something happened.
Mm-hmm.
There was some kind of event, some sort of something that was very final and very like, fuck it, we're getting divorced. So I don't know. I mean, we knew from watching the show the guy was shady. He disappeared for a weekend, kind of gaslight. He's seemed like a gaslighter to me. Felt a little like he's been using Drew. And then we got an email. I figured we could bring it back up that said he was cheating with the assistant. Oh, so by the way, all allegedly, we think it could be about Ralph. We are not sure. It didn't say. He was cheating with the assistant and he told her he would leave his wife. Ultimately, when his wife was asked back to the show full time, he decided to stay with her because he wants his 15 minutes of fame. Two possible outcomes. She finally leaves him for good, or once she's no longer on the show, he'll leave her for good. Watch and see, allegedly.
I have to say, good riddance to him. Also, it came out later, either this morning or late last night, that she was accusing him of chronic cheating, being verbally and physically aggressive. I don't know if that book ever that he was writing ever came out about him it's called like Stepping Into Parent or some bullshit.
Yeah.
The guy gave me the ick. He's a very handsome guy and she's beautiful, Drew. And
yeah.
I can't wait to see, and I wonder, because they just recently wrapped filming, so I wonder if they hid this, because remember last season they weren't in a good place, but somehow they weren't really discussing it. So I hope some of this was captured. If not, Bravo's probably throwing those cameras up right about now to get some of that, because, you know, it's probably not even in the editing phase yet, so they could certainly add a couple of episodes.
Sure, ask her to do another confessional and be like, what's going on? You know?
And she likely secured herself another season because now she has a storyline. And I'm very excited to see her having dropped the dead weight because he certainly was bringing her down. I mean, she didn't seem happy on the show, you know? Like, you could see she was unhappy. And we were saying since, like, it aired last season, why is she with him? It was the whole assistant thing. It was basically confirmed that he cheated. You know what I'm saying? It was sad to watch.
And I completely agree with you. She did not seem happy and it seemed like she was a little guarded about the relationship with him, which, you know, nobody ever likes to see on these shows, like a barrier between the audience and what's really going on. So hopefully by filing, now she feels like, okay, I can unburden myself and tell you what's really been going on. And I would be very interested to watch that. Like, I think that would make a great casting choice to keep her on so that she can tell us what had really been happening.
Absolutely.
So Atlanta Jason, I guess, because I don't think Peter Thomas even lives there anymore, but he has been all over the news, like not in a positive way.
No. Not at all.
So so I read the article, but I didn't go too deep into it. I just like really, I have just a physical aversion to hearing about physical violence. So the second I knew that's what it was about, I kind of pieced out. So what was the article about?
Well, you know, and I have said, and like we're on the pod, I've said, when Peter was on Atlanta with Cynthia, even though he always sort of had like a shady way about him, but I really enjoyed him. And I thought he was, I don't know, he seemed like a cool guy in many ways. This is really icky to the max. He was found not guilty. So a woman in Baltimore was at his restaurant. She filed charges against him for assault. Yesterday, he was found not guilty. The woman happened to be the niece of the Love and Hip Hop star Tammy Rivera, who was married to, I can't think of his name. Was she married to Fetty Wap? Am I confusing? I think I'm confusing. I think Fetty Wap's the guy on Love and Hip Hop who baby mama was on Love and Hip Hop. But anyway, she was married to a rapper, and she's a reality star in her own right, and she has 2 million followers, and she came out and made a video and was like, you know, regardless of what Peter is saying, the reality is that my niece handled this. She basically said, like, I offered to give her money for an attorney, and she said, no, I got it. I guess the niece felt confident that the public defender would be able to prove her case. Tammy Rivera goes on to say that Peter hired like an expensive attorney and that's why he won, but everyone knows that he is guilty, and totally called him out. And again, very large platform. So then you see Peter like make a video saying, I was innocent, I knew I was innocent. And then he switches to coming out. Now, remember, the reunion aired a week ago, and you're suddenly making a video as soon as Tammy Rivera comes out with her video saying that it did happen and it was her niece and blah, blah, blah. Now you're coming out talking about Mia and G lying about Wendy and you having an affair. Okay. On the one hand, I do believe that Mia is lying. On the other hand, why didn't he make that video right after the reunion aired on Sunday night?
Because he probably, when was he found not guilty?
Yesterday.
So that's why.
And he made this
because
video
he
yesterday.
Oh. Yeah, he was waiting. Yeah, that's why. You don't go on social media talking about anything until the case comes back.
Totally makes sense.
As I've learned from my 0 years as a lawyer.
Totally makes sense. And then, of course, G and Mia, because their thirst is real, recorded a messy response. I mean, Amanda, we have two 60-something-year-old businessmen, mind you, publicizing their messiness all over social media. And the whole thing is embarrassing. And, Peter always had like this. I remember Nene calling him out like, oh my gosh, who knows, maybe a decade ago, and being like, you're always in the business. Like, we always know he wanted television time. We knew it then. We knew it when he got on the show. We knew it when the rumors were spreading that he was dating Giselle. That's one thing, okay? But this isn't a good look at all.
Why? Gee, like, why? You don't need to get on there. Like, just let it float out there and go away, whatever Peter said. It makes it so much worse. And he just looks petty and
Waka Flocka. Tammy Rivera's husband is Waka Flocka. I think they're still married. I don't know.
From the Black Eyed Peas, right?
No, he's a rapper. Waka Flocka Flame.
Flocka. Oh, who am I thinking of as in the Black Eyed Peas?
I don't know.
Anyway, I did not watch
Fetty
Love and Hip Hop.
Had a baby mama on Love and Hip Hop. That's why I got the two confused. But her husband is Waka Flocka, and they have a weird relationship. They're together. They're broken up. They're together. They're broken up. I don't know what the status is now, but
yeah. Well, anyway, the embarrassing husbands, the pile of embarrassing housewife husbands doesn't end, because we also had an article from TMZ this week about Michael Darby. I'm just going to read the headline. Real Housewives of Potomac. Michael Darby suing Candace Dillard Bessette. ... Your oral sex claims are BS. ! You gotta love TMZ.
I love it.
I love it. So, I mean, it's too funny. So I'll read you guys like just a quick excerpt of what's happening. So we all know who Michael Darby is. He has sued Candace Dillard Bessette for defamation after she claimed that he paid a dude to have some sort of sexual relations with him. According to the docs obtained by TMZ, Michael Darby, which they're not, I guess, divorced yet, so I guess it's Ashley's husband still, is suing Candace over comments she made during the latest season of the reality series, where she didn't hold back during one of her many arguments with Ashley. On the show, Candace tells Ashley, your husband likes to leave you and go to a man named blank's house and suck his blank. She never says who the guy is, but Candace later claimed that Michael paid for sex. Michael sent her a cease and desist earlier this year regarding her comments, but claims that she has yet to retract any of her allegations, and he is suing her for $2 million in damages. So, okay. I mean, a lot to unpack here, but do you think my first thought is, do you think that he is emboldened by the whole Johnny Depp defamation trial and he's like, I'm gonna sue too?
I think that he has the means to do this, and I think that he's betting on the fact that Candace will publicly retract her statements, say that she has no knowledge of this, that she was just angry and said something on the reality show and there's no truth to it, because the reality is, does Candace, I mean, that's what I would do, and I think that's what Candace should do and probably will do, and the reason is, he may never get the $2 million, but does Candace want to have to lawyer up and put monies into fighting Michael Darby, who has so much money? I wonder, Amanda, if he's going to sue, and this was a cocktail party post, and since then it has kind of come to light, because he's talking about this publicly, and it may be another diversion, Amanda, because, as most of you probably know by now, Michael Darby is being accused of being one of the largest landowners in Somalia, and the accusation that has gone public is that he earns a substantial wealth from the war on Somalians.
Ugh, disgusting.
So, I ask you, this just came out a couple of days ago. Candace made that statement weeks ago. It was aired a couple months ago, and
he's trying to distract.
I mean, that's my gut instinct. What do we think Candace does?
Well, and this is why I just need to pull Legally Blonde and go to law school, because here's my thought.
Well, you are blonde.
In the case,
so you have that.
I mean, like a real, but a real law degree, not like just me, figuring out how to get legal access to legal documents.
But do you go to Harvard Law, or are you just gonna stay local?
I mean, we'll see. Maybe I'll be an international lawyer. Ooh. Who knows?
Dubai.
Okay. Yeah. So they need, right? Like, let's say, I'm not saying any one way or the other, but let's say, what if it's true? And this is something that's happened. And Candace is like, well, but it's true. The guy is, what happens in that case, right? Does she still just get up and retract it? So, because, I mean, she would be facing, knowing now where a lot of Michael's money is coming from and how wealthy he is, this could be hundreds of thousands of dollars of a legal fight if she decides to fight it. So I would just, if in case it were true, are there any recourses to that? If the other person can come up and say it or prove it or what? Because otherwise, you're right, she has no choice but to just retract it.
I mean, that's where my head is at, and I'm sure she will very begrudgingly retract it, because how does she prove it? Even if the guy comes out and says it, then Michael Darby will sue that guy.
Yeah.
And that's assuming that guy wants to go public and say it. So you have to retract it, because nobody wants to get stuck in a legal battle. Listen, Candace has, they make good money. I'm not saying that, but she doesn't have endless Somalian war funds.
Yeah, right.
And
legal cocktailers who are legal, lawyers, whatever, tell us if you have a different perspective on this, because it's just interesting. All of this is so interesting to me, because suing for defamation, it's generally somebody who is wealthy, and I don't know, because the other thing is is he is he mad? Is it the gay sex thing? Is it is it the paying for sex thing? I'm very curious what it is that he's so pissed about.
Well, I think he's always denied that he has homosexual relations.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Well, I think that's probably the main point. Yeah. I'm so excited for him not to be a part of the show.
Me too.
And I don't know if these allegations about him owning land and being involved in the Somalian war are true. I don't know who in the hell could concoct that? I mean, somebody's going to research it. I don't know if it's going to be us because it seems complicated for me. But what I will say is, if that's true, wow. I wonder what, if anything, Ashley knew about that. Because, again, that goes back to our thing, which we've said about the power differential and his being an established, successful, whatever. I mean, train wreck
we know the money didn't.
I mean, and we're not even going to get into the Juan Dixon thing because that's like old news by now. And we know that we posted that picture and, the denials and the cryptic posts from Robin. And I mean, maybe they just have an open relationship and good for them. But, it's enough with the fake storylines. And I think we're going to see some changes in that cast. But we do have some fun stuff to talk about. Let's move away from the train wreck husbands.
Let's do.
I mean, how many of these women go on these shows just to get rid of their husbands?
Yeah.
Like, what is it?
Maybe they're like, I need a clearer view of what's really going on. And maybe being under the microscope of the camera will help. Who knows?
Right. But, like, one last thought on this. I feel like and obviously I haven't sat down and done a statistical breakdown of this, but it seems like if you think of all the housewife cities, to me it seems like there's more bad husbands than good.
I was thinking that exact same thing because I was like, God, what is going on with these Potomac men? Like, gross.
And Atlanta.
G's getting into drama. Like, honestly, it's
and other cities. I mean,
yeah. Honestly,
like every city, OC. I mean, think about all the OC. OC, I think has historically had the worst. I mean, Vicky Gunvalson alone, between Steve Lodge and Brooks, and then you had Jim Bellino, Jim Marchese from New Jersey. I mean, just some really gross. God, Lenny from Miami. I mean, and the list doesn't stop.
No,
even like Adriana's first husband from the early seasons was gross. Okay, but. Yeah. On to the good news.
Alexia's husband was living an entirely secret life.
Right. There we go. But, anyway. And by now it's public. Right now this is not public information, but by the time this airs it will be public. We have the names of some of the Winter House people. It's still somewhat in flux and we think there'll be visitors, but we're hearing Jason, our housewife-loving boy, is back. Jason Cameron. Danielle from Summer House, Kyle and Amanda, Tom Schwartz and Tom Sandoval. You're going to like this one, Amanda. Brian Benny, which I think you called. I think when we kept seeing him in pictures with Bravo stars, you were like, I bet he's on Winter House. And then there's going to be a couple below deck people. And two of the names I heard were Malia and Riley. Malia is the one who followed maritime law so closely and was like, Sandy's Biffy, and Riley is that redhead that was very wacky. Not to be confused with Rocky.
I remember her. Oh, maybe I was thinking of Rocky. Yes, no, I think I was thinking, wasn't Riley the one who got kicked off or no? By Captain Lee?
She may have. Rocky and Riley had shades of each other, so it's hard for me to differentiate them.
Yeah.
I did hear that Sandoval may just be like doing a visit because Ariana's not coming, and I mean, they do have a couple businesses back in LA to run.
Right.
And Jason and Danielle.
Okay, I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you because I was like, why is Sandoval going without Ariana? That's interesting.
Unless maybe Ariana is going and her name just wasn't listed. Like somebody sent this to me and they said it's not the full list, but.
Tom Sandoval coming out though, like for a weekend, like that makes a little more sense to me too. So.
I mean, Tom should probably get himself involved with Crazy Riley somehow. I just see it. I'm just seeing that because I can see him being attracted to chaotic energy.
Picture this. Danielle and Brian Benny.
I was going to say that!
Oh, really?
I love that.
I could see it. I really could.
Well, I think that he would definitely like her because she's beautiful. And I think that she would really like him because I can see him being so like sweet and like, I don't know, I can really see it. He's a little bit younger, I think. He's like late 20s, right?
I don't know. My whole universe got totally like turned upside down yesterday when I was Googling when we were talking with Melissa Gorga about Ashley and Luke. So Luke from Summer House and Ashley from Potomac. Ashley's 34 and Luke is 39. Like, I was like, wait, what? This is confusing to me.
I thought they were both
So,
closer to 39. Like, I knew Luke was close to 40, and I just kind of assumed, well, I guess because Ashley's been married and she has 2 kids, we assume she's in her late, but no, she's in her early 30s.
34, that's much younger than I thought that she was. But and not because she looks it, just to clarify, because she's like looks amazing, but because of how much life she's lived and how young she must have been when she came on to Potomac to start with.
Right?
That's for me. That's the disconnect for me, because like no, she looks like she's in her 20s, but she always has.
Right.
Well, I think it'll be interesting. I think I'm so glad they're moving the location. I'm glad they're going somewhere where it's like
Yeah, what
a
is
little
it? Steamboat,
sunnier.
Colorado?
Yeah, Steamboat, Colorado, which is I thought was an interesting choice because it's kind of an isolated, but it's a big, it's a big town.
But
Like
don't
there's
they have to, like,
lots
hit
to
it?
do.
It's, like, March already. The snow is going to melt.
No, March is like prime ski season in Colorado
Oh,
on
okay.
the west. In the west, it's like prime. Like that's when you want to go because you have like days where it's because you guys, I think I've talked about this. Like I'm a skier. I've skied in at least on the west side of the U.S. Like many of the ski resorts that the West has to offer, and like Colorado is known for spring skiing in March, like short sleeves and ski pants on a like really nice day. So I love it. I think it'll be good.
I think it'll
Can't
be
wait
good.
to watch it.
I think it's going to be great. I did watch a little bit I did not get to finish Miami today, but I started watching it, and I know last week we saw a little bit with Lisa and her mother-in-law, Lenny's mom, and we
Mm-hmm.
saw more, and by now all Miami fans have watched it by the time you guys hear this. I love the way that Lisa really stood up for herself, and it was very hard to watch because she said that for many years Lenny's mom has been a mother figure to her, and the mom was like, well, you always were out, you always had these parties, and she's like, and the mom's name is Marina, she's like, Marina, you cannot justify my husband cheating on me, leaving me for another woman, and flaunting it in my face because I like to go out. She's like, and more to the point, if he wanted to separate, is this the way he should do it? To tear me down? I'm the mother of his young children. Why does he want to
Right.
hurt me to this extent? And
Right.
when she said that, mom was like, well, you're right about that. And mom was like, well, it'll take time. Sometimes it takes a long time. I do know Miami's starting up again within the next few weeks.
Mm.
I am hearing that they want Leah Black back. Now, does that look like full time?
Honestly,
Does that look like friend?
I welcome it. I think she would bring a whole different energy in. I'm getting a little tired of this old versus new guard on Miami because I really like the new housewives and I really like the older ones, the previous ones, not that they're old. And I don't like this divide. I'm over the Adriana stuff. And like, I feel like Leah coming in, like she calls it as she sees it. She doesn't always like, she definitely has like a skewed view of things sometimes, but she's very like, very matter of fact. And I don't know. I welcome it. I think it would be great. What do you think?
I welcome it. I absolutely welcome it. I think she's great. I think she's great TV. I think she's an OG as well, and she'll bring that alpha energy that
Right.
we see from some of the other ladies like Alexia and Marisol, and she kind of maybe will check them a bit. I wanted to
Yeah.
get your thoughts. So I know you haven't watched it yet, but we're going to see that at the end of last episode, Adriana asks Lisa to go speak with Alexia on her behalf and say, like, I shouldn't have made that analogy about Frankie, and I know that I'm wrong, but, in other words, kind of make amends. And
Mm-hmm.
Alexia seemed resistant to it, and Marisol seemed ticked because she's like, oh, she only wants to make amends with Alexia. She's not sorry for what she said about my boyfriend. not loving me or what.
Mm.
So I,
Mhm.
for myself, feel conflicted because on the one hand, I do see what Adriana did to both of them, and I think it's terrible. Like the Marisol
Right.
thing, like there was no need to bring it up. It was bizarre to bring it up. But then on the other hand, there's something that I feel sorry for Adriana. Does that make sense? Like
For what? What do you feel sorry for her about?
there's a sadness to her.
Yeah.
And this episode, we actually see her with Emilio Estevez. No, Emilio Estevez. I guess Gloria Estevez is. Emilio Estevez is also that actor, but Gloria Estevez's husband's Emilio Estevez. And she says, like, he's the producer. She said,
Estefan.
Estefan.
Gloria Estefan. Okay.
Oh my God.
I was like, wait, Emilio Estevez? I was like, wow, I need to like hop on watching today now.
That's really funny.
Okay.
She says what Dr. Dre is to the rap community, Emilio Estevez is to the Latin music community, especially in Miami. I mean, they even have their own restaurant chain in Florida. I've been to it. It's really cool. It's like a chain, but I went when my kids were, a couple years ago, and they have girls that come out and do dancing in like it's Cuban themed and
fun.
Yeah, it's really cute. But anyway, so she has that kind of stuff exciting going for her, but she does say like she really is very much on her own. She is the caretaker for her elderly mother. Her son is away at college, and she calls herself an empty nester. And I'm going to go ahead and guess the son doesn't want to be on television anymore, but she almost makes it sound, and we don't know if this is true, right? Because if he's not on television, whatever, she almost makes it sound like they don't have a close relationship, which kind of makes me sad. Like maybe he lives far away. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, he goes to school.
I agree. You get the feeling that they're not that close.
Yeah. Which is sad because in old seasons, I mean, he was the light of her life.
Yes.
And how much of her sadness, and I hate to say this, are bad decisions she made. Like as an example,
right.
Alexia and Marisol don't want to be close friends with her. And what you see her do, it's like, well, there's a reason why. And so that probably extends to other areas of her life. But then you do feel bad when you see the sadness and the loneliness, I guess, is what it is.
So are you asking kind of like, do I feel badly for her?
Yes.
What, like, okay. So first of all, I haven't watched this yet, but so maybe the only way she felt like she could even get a foot in the door with Alexia and Marisol, or Alexia, is to send Lisa in her stead. But I believe like that, that's something that kids in like 6th grade do. I think you figure out a fucking way.
Right.
And you apologize to somebody's face when you do something like that. Because not only did she say it, but then she dug the fuck in. And it's just not the same. And it was gross. And I did not like it. I mean, it was gross. And it was just in really bad taste. And I think Adriana just sees red sometimes and doesn't even know what she's thinking or doing, right? And I agree. I see some sadness in her. I think she's definitely not over her divorce. I think it seems like, yes, there's some sadness, something with her son. I thought the amount of drama, just even besides the comment to Alexia, the amount of drama about her freaking foot, like, I feel like if you and I were out and something like everyone's like messing around, the wave comes and something like there's people are feeling bad, but you're like, I'm okay. I'll figure it out. Like,
right.
I'll be all right. Yes. I'll let you help. Like, I'll take your shoulder just to help make sure that I get up the beach. Okay. I don't need to be wheeled in and off the boat. You know what I mean? Like I just don't care for that I don't care for that level of drama whatsoever. And so that just grossed me out too. So
I do feel like a lot of what she does is for camera time.
Yes.
And
for sure.
I wonder how much of her wanting the friendship with Alexia and Marisol is her fear of, because she's a friend of, she's not full-time.
Right.
And I sort of get the sense that Alexia has a lot of pull, and I do wonder how much of it is her wanting to make sure they don't try to get rid of her.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Julia 100% was pulling the same shit when she starts to try to throw all that ice on. Who was it? Was it Marisol?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Gertie? No, Marisol. Yeah. I was like, that felt like a kind of desperate play. I don't know. So honestly, my real thoughts are that yes, you could be right, but I also I sense that sadness, and I think Adriana needs to get some therapy. Honestly, that's you know me. Right. I love to talk about therapy, but it's the truth. Like I think I definitely sense it, but I also too like even if you really want to be on the show, like if people, I do think Marisol and Alexia, but they are really hard on her and they do kind of bully her, and she just like
it seems
kind of
like they
keeps coming back
genuinely
for
don't
it.
like her.
Yeah,
and they were
bully
so
it might be the wrong word, but they very clearly show their distaste for her over and over and over again.
Right, and even carry it over to Julia.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because and Julia. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I don't see Adriana making choices that I find admirable. I don't think sending somebody in your stead when you fucked up is the right thing to do. You figure out a way where, like, even if the person says they don't want to talk to you, you figure out a way to, like, go and stand in front of them, and at least you can apologize and say, I'm sorry, that was absolutely wrong, and then it was even more wrong of me to dig in further. It was wrong.
Totally.
I'm very sorry.
Totally.
That's what you do.
Okay, and before we say goodbye, I do want to touch on Vanderpump Rules for a couple minutes.
Yes, this is a good one.
So a couple of my thoughts that I'm going to throw out to you, and I also threw out to the cocktailers this morning. Were you shocked that Raquel sat down eating her cheese and drinking her wine with Ariana and Katie and basically was like, okay, well, I just want to tell you, thank you for inviting me on the vacation. I would like you to know that last night I shot my shot, or whatever she said, with Tom.
I was jaw-dropped shocked by that.
A part of me feels like she's acting out because she's so, I don't, hurt / pissed / embarrassed that James has moved on so quickly and is seemingly in love, which we'll get to that. So I feel like she's acting out because she's like, yeah, Katie's hurting, well, so am I.
Yeah.
And she said in the episode, like, she's like, yeah, we're in the same group and we don't dislike each other, but would you say we're good friends? And does she have a point? Because we know they're filming a show, but when they're not filming, Raquel and Katie are probably never together.
No.
So
definitely not. But I have a real strong opinion on this one. Like, the answer is fucking no. Like, you're in the same cast. You're going on the same trip. Like, no, it is too close to home. Absolutely not. Raquel, like, Shell, whatever your name is, like, get your, like, self-worth, take a little time. Do you get your self-worth back together? Because it's just, it's bad low-hanging fruit. Like, look past it.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I was absolutely first of all, I was shocked that she just went up and did it. But then the way that scene went down at didn't it make it feel like when he was like, "Are we still filming?"
It made it feel.
I don't know.
It made it feel like something happened off camera,
or something had happened before.
Yes.
I have a theory that maybe he did go to Coachella or something happened, and that's why everybody got.
By the way, the Coachella blind they're referencing was our blind, and I actually took it down when a couple of sources reached out to tell me he was not at Coachella, and Sheena then took our blind. She did not give us credit, and that's when she had him on the pod, and that's when she brought it up, and that was our blind. And I wouldn't be surprised if one of them sent us that tea. I don't know, but, or somebody who saw him there. But the person who sent it, like, And they sent me pictures, and it was it was from the back, but it did look like him.
I don't know. I'm telling you, I think there's more to the story. I have nothing to found it on. Nothing. But if you'll remember when that post was up, I mean, it was far and away one of the highest trafficked.
Oh my God.
Posts.
We got 1 million clicks
and then
that
the highest
day,
comment.
or 1 point something clicks that day.
It was insane. And so I wonder, I don't know, in my head, again, total scenario, I know nothing. I've always just kind of wondered, like, maybe it really did happen and they like all agreed to kind of shut it down because either it was too much, it was going to give too much away from the show or whatever.
Well, ultimately, they did make out. So whether it happened there, we know it happened at the wedding, and we know it happens after that. And then we know that she's very friendly with his girlfriend, Joe, who basically lives with him. So it's giving low-hanging fruit.
Who he says is not his girlfriend and just a girl that he deeply appreciates on a friendship level or something like that. I don't know about you, but that I saw that his apartment, his messy ass apartment, that didn't look like a more than 1 bedroom apartment. So how do you have a roommate in a 1 bedroom apartment?
You don't. You have a girlfriend.
You don't. You have a girlfriend.
All right, cocktailers.
Yes.
As always, thank you for tuning in. We got a lot of juice coming and flowing, and we're going to bring it all to you.
Yes, we do. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
Till next time.
Thank you guys so much for listening. Just want to ask you guys a favor. Just getting kicked off. So many people have been asking us to do this podcast. So please do subscribe. And if you've subscribed, go to your podcast app and hit those 3 little dots to share with your friends, but only friends who like good tea, because the ones who don't care about tea, then forget them. And don't forget, find us on Instagram at bravoandcocktails_, and check out the website because some great tea gets put there daily that would get us kicked off of Instagram. So thanks for listening, everybody.
Bye, guys. See you next time.